I didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen this Sunday. I didn't think it was going to happen anytime soon. But, Zach, the New York Jets have won a game. The winless streak stops at 7. A dominant comeback for the ages, 39-38, the final. Breece Hall throwing, not running, although he did do that 2 previous times before that. The game-winning touchdown to Mason Taylor. Then the defense, which had been so sluggish throughout the entirety of that game, with a huge stand on Joe Flacco at the 45-yard line. Jason Brownlee with the big PBU. The Jets are on the board, 1-7, no longer the NFL's lone winless team. Pop the champagne. The locker room celebration was one for the ages. Buddy, welcome to the show.
Our first winning Jets Final Drive pod since I became your full-time co-host. It's a weird feeling. Yeah. Dude, a winning locker room is so much better, let me tell you. Like, more guys are willing to talk. They all have stories to tell you. They give you the time of day. Like, I probably talked to like 10 guys in the locker room yesterday, whereas after a loss, it's like we all get the same 4 guys, and it's usually the same exact 4 guys every week. So as a reporter, wins are a lot more fun too, which, people give us crap for being too negative, but positive is also good for us.
People don't understand that. Like, that's what does crack me up a lot about people who criticize the job and the reporters. No, all you want is negative. All you want is negative. All you feed is the negative. It's like, dude, we cover what's ever happening. If it hasn't happened a lot lately, but when you're covering a winning team, everything is positive. When you're covering a losing team, everything is negative. Winning is always better. Winning is better for the brand. Winner is better for the people that you interact with. Winning is better for sourcing. It's just a better overall experience no matter what. But we're going to get to the Jets' first win, the 39-38 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on this episode of Jets Final Drive. Before we get to all of it, I want to thank you guys wherever you were listening. If that is X, if that is Facebook, if that is natively on smy.tv. But again, best place to be, we say this every single week, is where, Zach?
YouTube.
And why is it YouTube?
Because you can comment.
There you go. Dude, I feel like that, I do feel a little patronizing now, because throwing that stat back and forth to you is basically how I talk to Brooke, my daughter, when I need to all right, Brooke, what are we going to do in the potty today?
Well, to be fair, I had an early flight, so I am tired. So I needed the wake-up call to have to think about something.
Did you get ribs? Real quick before we get into this, because
no, I didn't get ribs. I had some brisket, and they had some chili at the stadium, which I did not like. So.
Oh, Cincy Skyline chili. Yeah, the Skyline chili is just that's.
It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. Yeah.
No, it's.
And I like chili. I like chili, by the way. They're like cinnamon flavored chili is like weird. Yeah, not for me.
Yeah. Well, chili. Yeah, Cincinnati chili does suck, and so did the Bengals defense. But our first topic is the first topic, like we do all the time. It is what have we learned, presented by Monmouth University. Monmouth University, the greatest university in all of the land. Zach, I'll start with you. What did you learn in the Jets' victory over the Cincinnati Bengals?
Besides that, I don't like Skyline chili. I guess I learned, I learned that Justin Fields still has the ability to be a quarterback that you can play. Like if he's playing like that, you can win with him. It's when he plays like the way he did the 2 weeks before that, which you and I said is worse than we could have ever imagined. That's when you lose a lot of games.
Mine is pretty simple. It's that the Jets just haven't given up. And I was concerned about that, I'll be honest with you, man, because the way that things looked against the Panthers, the way that things looked against the Broncos, that looked like a team that was already booking their flights to Cancun. That it was, we're not any good, we don't care, we're just going to roll over. And I didn't think the Jets were going to go winless, literally 0-17. Did not think that was going to happen. I thought there would be a game, maybe in the rematch against the Dolphins, maybe in the one against the Jaguars or the Falcons, where the Jets jumped in front early and just kind of ran a game all the way to the finish line. Similar kind of what the Giants did against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football, where Eagles were the better team, but that night they just didn't feel like playing, and so the Giants won. I thought the Jets would find one of those games, but any game where they fell behind, I thought that would be the game that immediately players roll over and it's just over. Not the case. The Jets fell behind in this one. There were so many opportunities where you thought the Bengals were about to start blowing them out, and they kept fighting, and they kept fighting, and they kept fighting. And then in the fourth quarter, they pulled it out. And that was, it was so much needed. I think that's pretty safe to say. And we're going to get into why now through the rest of the show. So are you ready to get into this one, Zach?
I just wanted to say real quick, you said they had their flights booked to Cancun. I literally have a flight booked to Cancun for this weekend. So you're kind of taking a shot at me in a way right there. So
I did.
I had that booked already.
I do wish I could say I was that clever. All right, so let's get into this one again. Jets beat the Bengals for their first win of the season. They are now 1-7. But Zach, this was a good one. And I just said it, and I'm curious if you felt the same way. I was watching the game on my tablet while covering the Giants in Philadelphia against the Eagles, and there were so many times where when I was fixated on the Jets, it felt like, oh, that's the drive that breaks them. Maybe it was the touchdown to T. Higgins, or it was Chase Brown running through their defense, or Perine getting going throughout their defense, or just little things that were happening throughout the game. Joe Flacco looking like the former MVP quarterback, elite level quarterback that won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens. All of these little moments where you're like, oh, it's done. The Jets are done. Oh, that's it. That's definitely the dagger. Oh, that's it. That's just the dagger. And the Jets never died. They never rolled over. They kept sticking around, and they kept sticking around, and they kept sticking around. And there's not too many times where I think you can look at a game and say, oh, a team scored 38 points and lost.
Yeah.
But the Jets' ability to just hang with them, and then eventually steal the game. And I felt they stole the game. Again, this isn't one, and we've seen it before, where a team doesn't win it, the other team loses it. I didn't see that from the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think this was one where the Bengals gave it away or anything like that. I genuinely believe the Jets stuck around, and then because of their big players making big plays like Breece Hall, because of their quarterback in Justin Fields, but truly for the first time this season, we can say this without a doubt, because of their head coach and his decisions, they pulled it out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I wrote about this, they at various points, they trailed 17-3, 24-10, 31-16, and 38-24 in the fourth quarter. Like those are all significant deficits to overcome, and they did it like 4 different times throughout the game. They didn't tie it or take the lead until the very end of the game, and that was largely because of, like you said, one of Aaron Glenn's decisions, which we'll get into. But just a resilient, hard-fought game that they were doing things that they hadn't done in these games, and they were trying to make these late comebacks. And you have that last drive. I would say I mentally throughout this game, even if as they were keeping it kind of close, like they've done that before. So in my head, I'm like still assuming they're going to lose, frankly. And it wasn't until Breece Hall's touchdown, which was a very unique play call, very unique play to call in that moment. It worked. And that was when I was like, oh, because I do takeaways at the end of each game for The Athletic that go up right after the buzzer. And I had to finally start writing it as if they were going to win. And then the defense went and got their stop. So, this was a full-throated effort, full coaching effort, full offensive effort. The defense obviously has some question marks, but they got it done at the end. And this was the first time all 3 phases were playing well at the same time, and that's the very end of the game. But they did it just in time to win. And I'm sure I haven't really seen a lot of the reactions about how much they're celebrating this win, but you can't blame them. They're 0-7. It's been a really hard season. They've been criticized a lot of it founded, despite what Aaron Glenn wants to say, like you're 0-7, you're going to get criticized. And so they deserve this win, and the celebration met it. And it was just like an emotional day when you combine the Nick Mangold stuff, the Woody Johnson stuff with Justin Fields. Justin Fields admitting that he cried alone in his closet on Saturday. Yeah. Just a really emotional, hard-fought win that, Aaron Glenn, this is a Aaron Glenn win, I would say. Like, he deserves credit for this one.
Well, it's more than that. I was like, it was emotional for everybody. Like Christopher Johnson, who gave the game ball to Aaron Glenn in the locker room. I was actually talking to him after the game, and he told me he was on the sideline when things went final. He was crying himself. Like it was just the emotional toll of everything, of Mangold, who I can't speak to Mangold like Costello could, or Samini, or Waz, or any of the guys, Janae even, who have been around the team for so long. I got Mangold in parts of 2014, 2015, and some of 2016. So I think 16 was the year where he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken, and he missed a lot of time, which was a rarity for him because he was a staple. But he was just a larger-than-life personality and a larger-than-life person and a presence that you felt the moment he walked in the room. And you have players like that you cover where you just feel their aura. And it's when Brandon Marshall walked into a room, you knew Brandon Marshall was there. When DeBrickashaw Ferguson walked in a room, you knew he was there. When Sheldon Richardson walked in, you knew he was there. Nick Mangold was one where you walked in and you were like, that's Nick Mangold. And he would talk. He always gave everybody the time of day. He was always open and honest with his answers when they pertained to football. And he was truly just a really, really good person. And it's, again, I can't speak to him like so many of these other guys can. In fact, I encourage everybody, because it actually got me emotional watching it. And again, I didn't have that kind of a relationship with Nick. But listening to Willie Colon on Jets pregame live go over his time and his experience and his memories with Nick, and basically saying he was one of the reasons why he signed with the Jets when he did, I thought it was, it was very, very moving. And it was awesome that Willie was willing to share that with us. It was awesome that he did it. SNY was able to put together a show that was out there that could touch upon people that were touched by Nick Mangold like that. So I really encourage everybody to go watch that. But this game, every now and then you have a moment where the game is bigger than the game, or the moment is bigger than the game. You felt like this was it. That, none of these players on the team played with Mangold. None of the guys on the coaching staff. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that because
Nick Folk.
Yeah, Nick Folk played. But I keep forgetting Nick Folk is back again.
And Mason Taylor's dad played with him, which is crazy to think about. I know. I'm just saying, but it's just yeah.
Yeah, it's still like. You have the moments where it just means more. And Glenn talked about it in the locker room. Like I said, Chris was crying on the sideline just because of what this meant to everybody. And for the Jets to pull this one out the way that they pulled it out, you kind of felt like they had a 12th player, they had a 54th person on the roster, a 12th player on the field with them there throughout the most of this one because it was Nick Mangold. Unfortunately, not to transition to something not so great. But I did want to ask you, Zach, before we go into Justin Fields, because I think he's probably the biggest story coming out of this one. Do you have big picture concerns with the defense? Because you and I did talk about this going into the game, where you wondered if they were good against the Broncos because the Broncos were sleepwalking. And you wondered if they were good against the Panthers because the Panthers don't really have that good of an offense. The Bengals were going to be a pretty good test. I know Flacco's limited, but we've always said as long as you can keep Flacco upright, he's going to dice any defense out there, especially with those weapons. They won, but they let up 38 points. Like that's a lot of points to let up. And I don't even know how many yards. I got to look it up.
I have it in front of me here. They let up 398 yards, and a lot of them were. And then rushing, they let up almost 200 rushing yards though. So that was the issue. Like they did a pretty good job. I mean, they had the T. Higgins touchdown where Zaire Thomas was left one-on-one with him. It seemed like maybe Malachi Moore was supposed to be there. They held Jamar Chase to not very much in the second half, but the running backs, like Samaje Perine should not be running for 10 yards a carry. Chase Brown, he's a good player,
really
but
good. Brown's really good, dude.
He is, but they weren't tackling him. Like he's not a guy that's known for like breaking tackles. So like I think they had 15 missed tackles. I believe Malachi Moore had like 3 or 4 of them. It's a lot of the mistakes they were making before that 2-game stretch where they played better. So, I think this upcoming schedule, we'll learn pretty quickly which version of this defense is the real one. It should be said they didn't have Sauce Gardner, obviously.
Yeah.
That doesn't really impact the tackling so much. Jamien Sherwood, it seemed like, was suspended for the first quarter. We didn't get any clarity on that because Aaron Glenn wouldn't shed light. He said he's going to keep it between him and Sherwood. That was very strange.
For a quarter, that's a suspension. That's
what I'm saying. But for that to happen to a captain is pretty jarring. Honestly, I've never seen that before.
Likely, real quick, just and right back to you. That is it. I have no intel on what this was. They're keeping it in house. 99.9% of the time, when you're benched for a quarter, it means you were late to a meeting. Like that. That's what happened with Shell and Mo back in the day. Like it's very Darren Lee once. Like it's very, very common when a player is benched for just a quarter. It's because he was late to a meeting or something like that.
But I would say it's rare for a captain to be the one getting that. But so he wasn't there in the first quarter. But I mean, the tackling was bad in the second half too. So I have concerns. I do think as they get healthier, we don't know what they're going to do at the trade deadline. That would impact how the defense looks going forward. Like if they'd make some sort of blockbuster where they get rid of guys, which we'll get into later. But like that would impact my feelings on this defense long term. My biggest concern is the pass rush, actually, because you have all 4 of those guys back now. You have the starting defensive line of Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Harrison Phillips, Quinnen Williams, all there. And they still were not really getting after Joe Flacco until like the second to last drive. So, and Joe Flacco is a statue, and the Bengals offensive line is not very good. So that's my concern is the tackling and the pass rush.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this about the defense, and do we have? I think this is where we're touching. But I'm just looking ahead at the note. Okay, so you can criticize a lot of what Darren Muji's done this year, Zach. I think his draft picks after Mason Taylor. Little bit to be desired. The AZ Thomas is coming along, but still, it's with those guys, I wonder if they're actually long-term players you want to see a little bit more. But still, some promising things from Thomas, some promising things with Moore. But the overall construction of the roster in terms of us, we've lamented this so much, where we knew they needed a wide receiver too before the draft and free agency. They needed one after the draft and free agency. We knew they needed this. They needed that. Like all of these little things where we had concerns that have sunk the Jets in a way through their first 7 losses before this game. You got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done with his in-season acquisitions, specifically Brownlee. I mean, This guy looks like a player who's going to be a player on the Jets for the foreseeable future. And I don't think this guy is a top 5 corner in the NFL, but he is a lightning rod of energy who plays like his hair is on fire every single play, who is constantly out there trying to make plays, seems like he always has his nose around the ball, has been avoiding penalties for the most part since the Jets were able to get him, and has now stepped in as that nickel corner inside Brandon Stevens and inside Sauce Gardner when he gets healthy. And for him to make the game-changing, game-winning play on 4th and 9, it's looking like one hell of a pickup there for Muji, and he deserves his flowers for that one.
Yeah, I just don't understand. There had to be something that nobody knows about with the Titans. Like, I do not get why you get rid of a guy on a rookie contract who is clearly this good. Just to give it a little behind the scenes of the locker room. So the locker room is wrapping up, and Tom Rock and I from Newsday are kind of waiting to talk to Brownlee because he had that last play. He's the last one in the locker room. Everyone else in the media already left. He's like taking his time putting on his jewelry and stuff, which is kind of funny. But at one point he asked, what time is it? And we say it's like 4:57. And he's like, oh, great, so I still have time to go watch the Titans lose. Like, this is the he has that kind of edge to him, though. Like, you and I
you need guys like that. That's a dog.
That's what I was just like.
That's a dog.
Remember you and I talking about that earlier in the season, probably before he really started playing a role, where we're like, who is the guy in this defense that's gonna like the energy giver? You know, like Jermaine Johnson, you could say was one. He was hurt at the time. But other than that, you didn't have like a C.J. Mosley, a guy that was gonna rally the troops and really just like set the tone. And it seems like he's that guy. Like, he has a lot of confidence. He says all the right things. He's really fun to talk to, just as like a guy in the locker room, and he's really thoughtful, and he loves being a Jet already. So I think he's a guy that he could be like a culture-changing type play. Not in terms of even not saying he's going to be a superstar or anything, but just the way he plays football can be a really big boon for Aaron Glenn as he tries to find like his guys with this new regime.
Appreciate you guys anywhere you are watching us, Facebook, X, SNY.TV, or YouTube. The cool thing about YouTube, like we say all the time, is that there is a live comment section running throughout the duration of this show where you guys can interact with me, interact with Zach, ask questions that we can then answer in the middle of the show. Our producer, Brian Pincus, is back monitoring that throughout the duration of the show. Just sent me a couple questions here that I do want to touch upon. The first one, this is from New York Sports Wicker Media. Zach, how do you get so many in-season vacations? That's a great question.
Jets schedule. Okay, it does. The way I talk about it does make it sound like I go on vacation all the time. I really don't. But if the Jets are in Europe, I'm gonna stay in Europe and check some places out. And this is a bye week, so that's where I get time this week. So my friend was nice enough to ask me when the bye week was, and then it worked out with the other people.
That is a good friend.
It's a bachelor party I'm going to. So yeah, so that's why I'm going on vacation again. But I mean, that's a funny and fair question. But I swear I do work.
Samantha's going to learn it, or has. I would say Samantha
she's not happy that she's not happy that I'm leaving to go to sunny.
Well, I'm just
Mexico.
saying, like when you guys plan when you start planning your life events, like Bree and I went through this, like with vacations, when we got married, when we started trying to have Brooke, like God willing, with the child part of it all, but like you start planning it around the NFL season because you're going to be doing this basically for the rest of your life, and like you don't want to have a birthday in September and then worry about you're going to be missing it or October. So you try to plan it around the off season, but it's rare that you have friends that are like, oh yeah, that's right, that is a Sunday in the NFL season. Like I know like my sisters are pretty good with it, where they'll plan parties, like they'll make if it's in season, they'll try to make it a Saturday or a Friday. But friends doing it, that's a good friend. That is a very, very good friend. And I do say, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. You're working on it. All right, we'll get to your speech later. I will say this real quick. Wyatt Mag, we see your question on Jermaine Johnson's comments regarding the trade. Brian sent me that one as well. A little bit later on in the show, we're going to be talking about the NFL trade deadline. So I'll answer that question about Jermaine Johnson and the trade when we get to that a little bit later on the show. So just stick with us. I know that's making you stay with the show, but also I've learned that time on site and listening length is very, very important metric. So I'm just trying to juice the numbers by not answering that for like 30 minutes here. But I see you, Wyatt. We're going to get to you, buddy. Let's move on. And I'm trying not to say so I'm really annoyed at myself just now that I dropped a big one there. Woody Johnson, master motivator? The question's being asked right now on the show. Woody Johnson, master motivator.
Accidental master motivator.
Was Woody playing chess, not checkers? I've always thought he's been playing like Connect 4, but he might be playing chess.
I mean, I got to say, Justin Fields calling Woody Johnson outside noise is a pretty ballsy move in his post-game press
I felt like that wasn't – maybe I'm wrong. I heard the quote. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't think that was an intentional shot. It almost felt like he was – when you like process in the moment, and he said, it's a quote about the team that we're not caring about. It's outside noise. Well, the owner did say it, but still, that's outside. It was one of those, like that. At least that's how I took it. Now, granted, Justin, after all of this, has made some comments in the media where they've been impressive zingers. You had to read between the lines because he's not going to just come out and throw the dart. But there's been some good ones, like the one where he said the owner of the team, he didn't talk to him or meet him until just before one of the games. Like, this dude is got $30 million guaranteed and the starting quarterback, and you didn't meet the owner until right before the game. Like, he threw some shots back of his own, but that one was interesting. But yeah, talk about Justin Fields, Zach. I thought he was stellar.
Yeah, and it was in the beginning. It didn't seem like it was going to be a stellar day. It felt like it was headed towards another. Like, you and I would be talking quite a bit right now about his decision to check out of a QB sneak on 4th and 1 and toss it back to Breece Hall when he should have kept it. That would be a point of conversation because that would have been a key moment in the game. They do that. The Bengals immediately score. They go up 10-0, and it feels like, okay, this is gonna be one of those days. But he got it together. The game plan was really good. The running game was really effective. The offensive line was fantastic. And Justin Fields was taking shots down the field. He was getting out of the pocket. He was staying in the pocket and making throws. He was getting rid of it quickly. Like, these are all the things that we've wanted to see from him all year that he was scared to do or whatever it was. Like, something was off. I think he knew it, which is why he had such an emotional week also.
Yeah.
And he responded in a way that, some guys don't respond in this way. Like, this is, at the end of the day, as Aaron Glenn said today, like, these guys are human. They even if Justin Fields says he's not on social media, he might not be. He still hears all the criticism. He knows what people are saying about him. And, he deserves a lot of credit for the way he hunkered down. He figured it out. And, he went through a quarterback competition this week, and the other guy got hurt is maybe the only reason why he was playing, which we'll get into. But, like that's a lot of stuff. And he was still able to go out there. And, again, yeah, it's a bad defense. But, he wasn't playing well against other bad defenses. And his last good game was week 1 against the Steelers. So, they needed to see this. He needed to have this, and I'm just very curious to see if he's able to build on it. I actually think they would have been better off if they didn't have a bye coming off this game, frankly, so he could go right back out there and not think too much over the next week. But, yeah, I mean, it was a really resilient, impressive performance from him.
21 of 44, 244 yards, a passing touchdown. Wasn't overly effective against the ground. 11 rushes, 31 yards. I will say this, and I got to give a shout out to loyal listener NYJ Matt. I love the kid. He pieced together a prop bet for $25, Zach, that was going to pay out like $1,100 or $1,200, I think it was. It was anytime touchdown scorer Tyler Johnson and anytime touchdown scorer Justin Fields. And when the Tyler Johnson one hit on that gorgeous pass, that was
good.
Especially because it had the guy in his face. People will point to the Garrett Wilson touchdown in week 1 against the Steelers as one of Fields' best throws of the season. That one to Tyler Johnson with the safety coming in, putting his hands up in his face, and still lofting it over the rusher, over the corner, just dropping into the bucket. That was a stellar pass and shows the talent that's there with Fields. What's always held him back, it's not a physical thing. It's always been mental processing, seeing it. That's been his biggest bugaboo. When that Tyler Johnson one hit, I was like, God damn, I should have tallied Matt. I should have trailed Matt. Like that, I saw the bet and I was like, man, that's a real interesting one he pieced together because you could see it happening. When that one hit, I was like, oh, 100% Fields is going to score. So that's a bad beat that he didn't get that one. But a little bit into the deeper dive here of Fields, he had 9 attempts, Zach, of 10-plus yards. So the dinks and dunks, they were still dinking and dunking some as they're going to because they don't have Garrett Wilson. But he was stretching the ball down the field. I thought that was nice to see. His time to throw per Pro Football Focus, 2.92. If that was his time to throw for the season, it would be the 9th slowest among active quarterbacks who have played at least 50% of their team snaps. That obviously isn't all that great, but when you're talking about Justin Fields, he's always going to be someone who holds the ball long. It's just the way he plays. He's never going to be somebody getting it out of there consistently at 2.3, 2.4 seconds like you see Matt Stafford or like you see Aaron Rodgers or you see like any one of these quick throw quarterbacks. He's not that type of a player. But if he can be around that 2.85, 2.95 mark, you like that a lot more than 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, which is where he's been at for the majority of the season. So I thought that was really, really good, especially because he did all this too without Josh Reynolds, no Garrett Wilson, anything like that. Fourth quarter too, pretty good, 6 of 7, 68 yards. You did mention it here, Zach, and I do want to touch upon it really quick, and then we're going to get to Tyrod, Justin, because Glenn spoke this afternoon and did not commit to Justin Fields as the starter out of the bye. He will be the starter out of the bye, barring injury. Yeah. The Bengals defense stinks. They're very bad. They now rank 32nd in the league in yards per game at 407.9. The Jets had 500 yards on them. When I heard Aaron Glenn say that after the game, I was like, holy crap, they did. Again, no fault that I was covering the Giants, so I wasn't following the team statistics. 407.9 average yards per game in 8 games. That is horrendous. 31.6 points per game. Both those marks are 32nd in the NFL. That is a horrible defense. And we're not a Bengals show. I guess that's good. They are so wasting Joe Burrow whenever he gets back because the offensive line is not very good, although they did hold up pretty good. That defense, man, is like, you had to pay Chase and Higgins, but it's almost like you pay those guys just to now not have a defense that can stop anyone. I mean, allowing an average of 31 points per game. An average of 31 points per game. That is wild. That's terrible. That's absolutely horrendous. It's stunning to me every time I look at the Bengals and I'm like, wait, they have 3 wins? They're not a 1-win team or a 2-win team? The fact they have that many wins still is crazy to me. Well, quarterback drama. Oh, sorry, Zach, go.
I was going to say, I mean, I'd say the vibes aren't great over there either because Zach Taylor had some quotes where he's like, we need anybody to be a leader for this defense. And Jamar Chase was asked about it. He's like, I'm not the defense, basically not my problem. So, like, I think the vibes over there are not very good right now.
Bad vibes team. I mean, but that's a bad owner. That's a bad owner. That's a
bad coach. I don't think Zach Taylor's a good coach, honestly. He got propped up by – I think he's been propped up by Joe Burrow.
That's fair. I can see that. I mean, Joe Burrow is. I just think they're wasting Joe. They're going to get him hurt. They're going to get him.
That's why I wonder if he even comes back now if they keep losing, though. Because if they're out of it, then there's no point.
I talked to Carl Lawson in the locker room once when he was a member of the Jets. And again, we're not a Bengals show, but just real quick on this, I thought this was very fascinating on the Bengals. He was telling me how when he was a free agent, the Bengals made an effort to re-sign him. They essentially offered him the same contract that the Jets did, but none of it was guaranteed. And he was like, "What? You're not guaranteed."
Yeah, that's how they operate.
Like the first year, and then nothing else was guaranteed. And I said to him, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "But dude, that's just what they do. That's what Brown does. Their owner. He does not pay. He doesn't invest in the facilities. He doesn't invest in the players. He doesn't invest in the building. He doesn't like it. I don't know if it's a
dude. Corey Dillon went like viral the other day because he tweeted that he was going for the Ring of Honor ceremony. He gets to the airport, and they're like, your flight hasn't been paid for yet. You need to pay for it. So, like, the Bengals booked his flight but didn't pay for it, basically.
Amazing. Like, that little stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
The one guy, though, that Carl told me, he goes, the only person in the world that I genuinely believe can change things over there is Joe Burrow. He said, he goes, that guy is so good and such an alpha and has so much potential to be such a franchise-altering, game-changing player. He's the one that can truly convince them to change everything. Nothing's really changed. I guess you can say they invested in Chase and Higgins, which is great, but they're now not investing elsewhere. It's not like they had all this money and we're just like, oh, here, we're going to now invest more. It's like, okay, we'll just allocate our resources differently, pay the receivers now. Oh, guess what? Figure it out on defense. And it's just been a disaster. The back and forth of the quarterback, we kind of got a little bit of an understanding of what really was going on there. Apparently, while Aaron Glenn said he knew who was going to start at quarterback, the lie detector showed that was a lie. He did not know. Plan Zach was basically to have these guys compete until Taylor said, I can't compete, I'm too hurt.
Yeah, I don't know the timeline of when Taylor said that, so I don't know like at what point Aaron Glenn knew Justin Fields is going to be the guy, but you know, Fields and Taylor both made it a point to say they were splitting reps, and so they clearly weren't lying. My guess is Taylor at some point told Glenn, like, I don't think I can go this week. I mean, he didn't travel with the team, so his knee was hurting enough that he couldn't even travel with them, which is notable. And, it's just kind of the tale of Tyrod Taylor's career, isn't it? Like, he's finally probably about to have an opportunity to start.
He would have started, yeah.
We assume. We don't know 100% sure, but we're pretty confident.
He wasn't going to lose that competition.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. But my point is, like, it's a scenario that didn't even happen because he got hurt again and untimely. And I think I forget what they said. I think a helmet hit him in the knee or something like that. I think that's the most Tyrod Taylor injury ever. Like, the poor guy.
The surgically repaired knee. The surgically repaired knee got hit in the with a helmet against the Panthers. Yeah.
So it's you feel bad for Tyrod, but. He'll probably have an opportunity to start again at some point, whether it's performance or health, because I don't know that Fields. We'll see if he can keep this up or not and all that stuff. But it's just the tale of Tyrod Taylor's career. Bad luck.
I will say too, Zach, that this is why I always caution. Just don't lie. If I was ever the head of media relations, head of PR, and I was overseeing a coach, or even a coach just came to me and goes, hey, I'm going to be a head coach. You're a media guy. How should I deal with the media? My number one piece of advice would be never lie. And the reason why you don't want to lie is because once you find out that the person's lying, you can't trust them anymore and you can't believe them anymore. And then also you're just going to piss people off. And all of us have sources. All of us have people that we talk to. We're all going to dig. We're all going to start digging. We're all going to start digging because now it's just going to be like, well, I thought I knew something. Now I'm just going to uncover even more of what I didn't know. And then find out more dirt and all that stuff. I think you and I had the same feeling when Glenn took the approach with everybody on Wednesday of, I'm just not telling you. I'm not telling you. I know the plan. I'm just not telling you. Competitive advantage. Dude, I was so pissed off at that. I was hell-bent in figuring out who the hell this team's starting quarterback was going to be. I was like, I'm going to find out. So I was like, you know what? There was very clearly a mandate sent out to all the players of don't tell the media. Don't tell the media. I was like, that's fine. We all know enough people around the league, dude. I had players on other teams calling players on this team, coaches from other teams calling coaches on this team to try to figure out who the starting quarterback was going to be. Glenn literally didn't tell anybody. So this genuinely was an open. I can't believe it. And Zach, you told me this. You're like, dude, there's no way they're going to split reps. I said to you, I was like, there's no way they're going to split reps, game planning reps for their starting quarterback. Like that's mind-boggling. You don't do that. You don't have an open competition in week with a quarterback. You do that with a receiver, tight end, whatever. You can't do that with a quarterback. Like you need to give your guy every chance to have success. No, the Jets were literally planning on splitting these reps because coaches had no inkling on who the guy was up on. Players had no inklings. They weren't telling other coaches, telling other players. It was truly like nobody knew until eventually Saturday it came out with Brian Costello breaking that it was going to be Tyrod Taylor, or I'm sorry, Justin Fields starting because Tyrod Taylor was hurt. If this was an open competition, though, Tyrod Taylor was winning. Tyrod Taylor is a more talented passer of the football and thrower of the football. That's going to shine through in practice, and the Jets would have given him the nod. The only time you give Fields the nod over Taylor is when you take into consideration the rushing ability. All right, Zach, talk a little offense now. Run through this pretty quick, I think. The Breece Hall, that's what we've been waiting to see. That's what I think the Jets, last year's regime where it felt at times like Hall was running a little soft and shying away from contact and not really just lowering his head and bulking up and making plays. That was all gone. This was the Breece Hall. 18 carries, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, the game-winning touchdown pass for a third. Not as involved in the passing game still, but he did catch the little swing pass that he ran for a first down. That's the Breece we've been waiting to see.
Yeah. He told an interesting thing after the game where he said the coaches basically told him, like, speak up. Like, if you feel like you need the ball more, like, we want you to be okay saying that. And he's like, I normally am someone who doesn't do that sort of thing because I just want to do my job. But he told them this week, he's like, if Garrett's not playing, give me the ball 20 or 25 times. Like, because if we're going to go down, I want to go down. I want to be the reason. Like, I want to go down swinging. And so, I respect that quite a bit from Breece to kind of do that and then follow it up by like living up to what he said he was going to do. You have it there. He had 18 carries. He had 2 catches, so that's 20 touches right there. And he did a lot with them. Like, he was running the ball really, really well. He threw the game-winning touchdown on a play they've been practicing apparently since week 1. Him and Mason Taylor were like,
it's a good throw too. Great throw.
Not only good throw, but he played it perfectly. Like apparently Mason Taylor said he was open early in the play and Breece didn't see him. But Breece, played it to the last possible second. He pump faked it and then he like lobbed it perfectly over the guy's head because he saw the guy. Like he processed all this in the moment that he saw the guy was shorter than Mason Taylor and looking the other way. So if I just throw it over his head, Mason will go get it, and it was a good throw. So like Breece, I came out of that game thinking they can't get rid of Breece. Frankly, like I don't unless somebody, we're gonna get into the trade stuff. Unless it's like an offer that is hard to say no to.
You've improved so much on your talking on topics before.
I'm trying.
I'm really impressed with you. Very good in-season development. Very good by you.
But Breece did a great job. Isaiah Davis had a great game. The offensive line was fantastic. But, yeah, Breece was the weapon in this game. They needed him to be this way without Garrett Wilson playing again, without Josh Reynolds playing. They're really depleted, and he was the offense.
Give some flowers to you. You touched upon it there, but Isaiah Davis had a hell of a game too.
He did, yeah. He looked really good.
I used to talk to LaFleur. I used to talk to Joe Douglas about Isaiah Davis often. Or I'm sorry, not about Isaiah Davis often. I would talk to him about Braylon Allen, like when they were coming out of the draft. I would talk to him about LaFleur just because he had scouted all these guys. Who wasn't on the staff for it, but all these offensive coaches scout everybody. Specifically when I would ask Joe Douglas about Braylon Allen, because Braylon Allen was the guy throughout training camp and OTAs and minicamp, if you remember his rookie year, that just constantly flashed and constantly popped up and constantly stood out on from our own eyes of watching this guy, partially because he's huge and jacked, but also he would just make plays as a receiver, as a runner, all that stuff. And I would constantly say, like, dude, it looks like Joe, like, it looks like you got somebody in this dude. Like, dude, it looks like you got somebody in this guy. And I would even ask Aaron Rodgers about it. Like, dude, it looks like you got something in Braylon Allen. He looks like a real player. I am not kidding you. Every single time I would bring up Braylon Allen, these guys would consistently say, yeah, he looks really good. Also, Isaiah Davis is really good. Also, Isaiah Davis. Oh, yeah, this other kid's really good as well. They would constantly be like, yeah, Allen looks also Isaiah Davis. It's taken a little bit to see it, partially because of the Jets' offensive ineptitude. I don't think anything Isaiah Davis did or did not do. This game against the Bengals, albeit their defense being horrible, this was Davis's breakout, where you saw everything that he can do come to fruition. It was the 50-plus yard run where he nearly took it to the house, but running through tackles, the physicality, the ridiculous catch on the 2-point conversion, which basically put the Jets in a position where they could win the game. But that ridiculous 2-point conversion where he made the diving catch to adjust to a Justin Fields pass, which also was ridiculous for him to make that throw Patrick Mahomes-esque while he was going down. But the biggest play from him, and why later in the show we're going to talk about this with game balls, we haven't had to give those out yet, the block that he had on the 4th and 1 completion to Jeremy Ruckert. That play does not happen if Davis doesn't step up and make the pass block and blitz pickup. And so to see him make plays as a receiver, to see him make plays as a runner, to see him make plays as a pass blocker, and Breece Hall actually tweeted about this after the game, Isaiah Davis is a player. And the Jets have been angling this and saying this, and it's probably one of the reasons why Hall was a player the Jets felt comfortable trading when they had Braylon Allen as well. Davis can play, and it was good to see him have a little bit of a breakout.
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably earned more of a role going forward, and especially if they're going to establish the run the way they did in this game, and they stuck with it even when they were trailing, and it worked. Yeah. So it's not going to work every week like that. Like we've talked about in past weeks, like you need to be able to throw the ball when you're trailing, but this is a terrible defense. So, I don't think that'll work as much against the Browns, but Isaiah Davis will have a role in this offense.
Last one real quick. What did you think about Tanner Engstrand?
Yeah, I was actually about to bring him up because you just mentioned the Jeremy Ruckert play. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter. I don't know if you remember in 2022, the Lions come to New York. I
block out a lot of that year, buddy, but I do remember that game.
Well, that Brock Wright had like a 4th down conversion, the tight end, at the end of the game to clinch the game, and it was the same play that the Jets ran to Jeremy Ruckert. So it was. Yeah. So Tanner Engstrand brought back a play that beat the Jets 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and he ran it. And yeah, I thought he did a really, really good job. I mean, I think again, I go back to Justin Fields checking out of that 4th and 1. That also falls on Engstrand. Like that shouldn't even be something he can check out of in that way. But after that, like a lot of the things he was doing, he stuck with the running game and ultimately the ballsy call at the end on the goal line to have Breece Hall throwing the ball in a crunch time moment. I saw Breece Hall is like one of only 2 like non-quarterbacks to throw the game-winning touchdown in the last 2 minutes of a game in a long time, like a very Rich Samini stat. I believe he tweeted it. And yeah, so Tanner, I think he had a couple of pretty rough weeks. They didn't have any touchdowns, and I think a lot of his decision-making was questionable. He saw a bad defense. He knew how to exploit them, and he did it. And so, I'm encouraged by him. I think he's someone who's going to go through
So
his
am I.
lumps as a first-time play caller, and as long as he can keep building and getting better and learning from his mistakes, then you have somebody to work with going forward.
And you're right, he's going to go through his lumps. It's a learning curve. People just assume, he's going to be perfect. No, there's going to be learning. One of the examples was there was a lot of criticism on Justin Fields for that 4th-and-1 failure where instead of running the quarterback sneak, he checked to the toss to Breece Hall, and it was a disaster. I had a coach actually hit me up during the game, and I keep going over this over and over and over again, where people like blew me up on Twitter, like, no coach is texting you before a game. Guys, coaches will when the Jets are playing at 1, there are a lot of people I know around the league who have games at 4 p.m. or later. And the people who have games at 4 p.m. or later are literally sitting around on a couch at the facility or at the stadium or at home if they're not at the game yet, watching the other games. Like, that's what they're doing. When you have relationships with these people, they text you. Just like I text Zach during games or you text your friends during games. They just text you. So all of us were kind of criticizing Justin Fields. How do you check? How do you check? How do you check? This coach actually hit me up and said that this is an example of an offensive coordinator being young and still learning. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't get it. What do you mean? And he said, when you have a check, there's no problem having a check off of the quarterback sneak. You just can't check to a toss play on a 3rd-and-1. The reasoning for it is whenever you're running lateral, and when you only need that few of yards, 1 yard, every defensive player is pretty much running up the field. Like they're all pin your ears back, get up the field. We know we got to get the ball carrier. So the longer you run lateral, like you do with a toss, the more opportunity you're giving the defense a chance to get to you. So 1, that's a problem. 2, you had Arian Smith as your crack blocker. Like that's put in Alan Lazard, put in Tyler Johnson. You don't have Arian Smith running the crack.
Yep.
But he also said if you watch with the toss, as soon as Justin Fields checks, Breece Hall takes a step back. When Breece Hall takes a step back, that alerts all 11 defensive players they're tossing it. Every defensive player now knows what play is coming. So the moment you check and Breece takes a step back, that says, okay, they're running a toss. And it was a disaster. So again, 99% of this was good, but you're still going to deal with the little bugaboos and hiccups from a first-time play caller. And honestly, pretty much every first-time play caller ends up having a bugaboo like this as well. Zach Taylor had it. He's been the head coach of the Bengals for how long now? When he ran a draw on was that 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10, Zach, on the game's final drive?
I think it was
second or third down. So what are you doing? Like, it's just overthinking it. You have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins against a secondary that's undermanned. Throw to them. Just throw the ball to them. And also, I don't understand how you don't go to Jamar Chase in the game's final play. Because they threw it to the kid from Princeton, right? Didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mistake as well. All right, moving on here, Zach. I don't know if there is a person who has been as critical of Aaron Glenn or a person I've been more critical on than Aaron Glenn than me. I have not been wowed by him to this point. I haven't been impressed by him to this point. I think there was at times a little bit of an arrogance to it that was holding the Jets back, specifically at points during these last 7 losses that they had. I genuinely believe that the Jets won this game against the Bengals because of their head coach. And that is the first time that I can say it this season. And it is a tremendous sign of the potential things that could come for this organization. I thought that Glenn, for the first time this year, pressed all of the right buttons. And I'm not even just talking about being the leader of a team that, despite the consistent punches and the consistent body blows that the Bengals threw the Jets from the first quarter to the second quarter to the third quarter to the fourth quarter, where a lesser team would have rolled over and been like, dude, it's not our day. Let's just go to 0-8, go to the bye week and move on. We want the full week off. Let's just go. The Jets kept sticking around, kept sticking around. And what flipped it from the Jets were sticking around to the Jets completing the comeback and winning was the decisions of their head coach. Deciding the right times to go for it on 4th down, deciding the right times to go for the 2-point conversions. That was the difference in this game. And game ball was given to Aaron Glenn, not just because it was his first victory as a head coach. It was genuinely because this head coach won that game for his team. And the tactical advantage that I've been criticizing so often, it was there for New York.
Yeah. He deserves a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot to add off what you just said because I agree with all of it. Like he was unimpressive in a lot of these crucial decision-making moments, especially like before halftime and things like that. They were able to work their way up the field this time before halftime and get a field goal before going into the locker room, which was a welcome change. They got close to the end zone, couldn't quite get in, but we didn't have to. We were all making jokes in the press box as they got the ball with 2 minutes left before halftime. Well, I wonder what could go wrong here. Like, are they going to run out the clock again? And they didn't. And so, again, the same thing as we said with Angstrand. You hope Aaron Glenn is learning from his mistakes, and he's not just thinking, I'm doing the right things. It'll line up eventually when our players execute better or whatever. He went out and he coached an aggressive game. I think the 2-point conversion is something that analytics people are really high on when you're down like they were in that moment. I think some people were confused by it, but the idea is, if you do that and then you come back and score again, then you have the ability to take the lead also. Or if you miss it, then you still have the chance to come back. So I think he pushed all the right buttons, like you said, and I'm more encouraged by his performance. I will say you'd like them to start faster. Like, they still just cannot push the right buttons at the very beginning of the game, but getting there.
I don't know if you know this. Was Woody in the locker room and Christopher gave the ball, or was it just Christopher in the locker room in Cincy?
I don't know the answer to that. I would guess that it was just Christopher in the locker room, but okay. I don't know if Woody was there or what. I didn't see Woody, but yeah, I mean, it's notable that Christopher gave the game ball.
He's great, isn't he? You've met Christopher, right? Haven't you?
Yeah, many times.
Dude.
Yeah,
dude, he's just his wife too. Like, they're just great people. I encourage any Jet fan who sees him in public, whether it's at games, at tailgates. I don't know if he still does this. When Woody was the UK ambassador, Christopher used to just go to tailgates in the parking lot. Like, how crazy is that? He's the most normal dude I've ever met. He would just go to tailgates and just interact with fans and just talk to fans and just get to know them and what their opinions were and go through them. It was great. And so it was really cool to see Christopher have that moment as well as Aaron having that moment there. I thought that was really, really cool. You were in the locker room afterwards. We kind of touched upon it a little bit earlier in the show, but vibes pretty sick. Like, that was a fun one in there.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, we wrote about after that Dolphins game where we could hear Aaron Glenn yelling from the room over. We could hear them cheering and dancing and yelling because of a win in the room over again, and you could hear it in the hallways, and the energy was still there when you walked in. And like I said, everybody was at their lockers and available and smiling. And Jermaine Johnson was having the best time, even just talking to us. And it's like I said, a winning locker room is just so much more fun. That's just the fact.
That's what I'm saying, man. People got to realize that we don't want these teams to lose. We're not cheering at any point ever. That never happens in this field. And I was discussing that with my brother-in-law, actually, or soon-to-be eventual brother-in-law, I could say, because he was like, you were a fan at some point. You got to still be a fan. I was like, no, dude, it becomes a job. And when it's a job, you root for people you know and you like and the people you build relationships with, but you truly do lose that fandom. But covering winners makes the job easier. It's better for everyone. When a team's consistently winning, all the assistant coaches you get to know go on to be coordinators and head coaches eventually, and then suddenly you know a bunch of head coaches around the NFL. So it is just better in general for everybody. The people who work for the Jets, the people that cover the Jets, the people that root for the Jets. It's better when they win. So yeah, it would be really fun to cover a winner and playoff pushes and Super Bowl runs. I would love to do that in my career. I will say, though, that I don't know if I would want a team that is in the Super Bowl chase every single year, because that means you're working through February. The Chiefs writers have to be well, my vacation doesn't start till February. That part's got to stink if you're doing it every year. So every other I think is fine, but that kind of a run, I don't know if I'd necessarily want to cover that. I know fans are going to hate me for saying that, but that would I'd like a little bit of a vacation. All right, Zach, we had this idea when we put this show together, and we were talking to Sam and Brian and Jeff about segments for the show, and we're like, we'll do game balls after victories. Didn't think it would take until October 27th for us to give out our first game balls, but I'll let you go first. Game balls from the victory. Who's getting yours?
Yeah, I gave mine to the offensive line.
Oh yeah.
They only allowed one pressure in that game. That's no matter what you think of the Bengals defensive line or whatever. That is not hard. That is not easy to do. They ran for over 250 yards. They gave Justin Fields time to operate, and it was just an utterly dominant performance by that group, and the kind that, again, we haven't really seen since week one. So big props to the big men.
There you go. My game ball is Isaiah Davis. I wanted to go everyone can go Breece Hall. He was a stud. I actually thought that's where Zach was going. That's why I didn't go with Breece Hall. You can go Justin Fields. You can go master motivator Woody Johnson. You can go Aaron Glenn. I wanted to go a little eccentric. So I actually went Isaiah Davis. I thought his play in not having any drop-off when Hall came off the field was a legitimate difference in this game. I thought the 2-point conversion was a difference in the game. But specifically, that blitz pickup on the 4th and 1 for the Jets, that play doesn't happen. The safety's blitzing. If Davis doesn't pick him up and give Fields the extra second, I think it was, the second to throw that ball to Jeremy Ruckert, play's dead, game's over. Over, done, over. No comeback, Jets are 0-8. Like, he needed to make that play to give Fields the time to find Ruckert to make that throw so that he didn't get hit, so he didn't have to jump around somebody, so he didn't have to scramble. Davis made that play, and I was really, really impressed with him. So I'm always a fan of, like, the secondary guys who you don't necessarily think about with moments like this. I thought that play on 4th and 1 with Isaiah Davis was such a massive, massive moment for a player and somebody doing their job that's not going to show up on the stat sheet. Appreciate everybody's listening. Guys, we've seen the comments in the YouTube section. So many of you guys are asking about the trade deadline. So many of you guys are asking about that. So we are going to get to it right now. This segment, NFL trade deadline, is brought to you by Wyatt Mag, who asked first thing in the show about the trade show. So this is the Wyatt segment. Shout out to him. Wyatt Mag, loyal listener, loyal viewer. This segment is for you. Big picture, Zach, did anything change in your mind winning this game against the Bengals for what they should do? You touched upon it a little bit with Breece Hall, and now you think the Jets should keep him. But do you think this alters what Muji and Glenn are going to do? And do you think it should alter anything they're going to do?
I should say my feelings on Breece Hall getting traded aren't necessarily different. I didn't think they should just get rid of him for the sake of getting rid of him. Like, if you're only getting a 5th-round pick, I don't see the value in trading away Breece Hall. But no, I don't think this changes the plans, like, wholeheartedly. I still think if you can get value of any sort for specific guys, like Michael Carter II's not playing anymore. If you can get a 5th or a 6th-round pick for him, like, sure. Even if it's, you give a 7th and you get a 6th back or whatever. Like, he doesn't have a role anymore. You're probably going to cut him in the offseason anyway. Trading him makes sense. Trading Quincy Williams in the last year of his contract, if you can get a pretty decent value, like, maybe they can't get a 4th, but if you can get a 4th or, maneuver it to get a 4th, I think you do that. And so that's where I'm at. I still think they're not good enough to, like, keep all these guys. I think you have to look ahead and say, okay, is this guy going to be a piece of our team next year when we think we'll be better? No? Okay, let's trade him and see if we can get some draft picks now and use those draft picks later to get somebody who can help us. So, like, I don't think they should trade Quinton Williams, Jermaine, Will McDonald, like these guys, unless you get, like, a really, really impressive offer is where I'm at still.
That's the thing. That's what we've been stressing so much on this show, is that, and specifically with Jermaine, is that the Jets, we're playing the semantics game as far as shopping, not shopping, that sort of a thing. Jermaine was never going to be a guy. When I think about shopping a player or throwing a player on the trade block, that to me is the best, whatever the best offer I'm going to get for that guy, that's what we're going to take. So if you put Jermaine Johnson on the trade block and this team offers you a 3 and this team offers you a 4 and this team offers you a 5, well, you're taking the best offer you can get. When it came to Will McDonald, when it came to Jermaine Johnson, the Jets' stance with them was they needed to be blown away. So one team that talked to them in the NFC specifically about Jermaine Johnson had conversations about him and came away saying they want way too much for him, we're out. That was always the Jets' stance. We're not selling the farm. This is not a fire sale where guys are going to get our players for pennies on the dollar. We're willing to trade guys. We're willing to listen to conversations. We're willing to pick up the phone. But unless it's an offer that makes sense for us, the answer is no. For the players that the Jets have team control on. Jermaine Johnson, he's under contract for next year. Will McDonald, under contract for the next couple of years. Quinton Williams, under contract for the next couple of years. Those were players, Quinnen, Jermaine, Will, that the Jets needed to be. They need to get their number, not the best number. Does that make sense? They didn't need to get. That's kind of what we're saying. They needed to get their number. To this point, those offers haven't been out there. And I talked to a coach who had been in conversation with the Jets about some of the players that we were just talking about, and he came away saying they're not getting dealt. His exact words to me were, they want too much. And this was a different team. This was another team from the one I was just talking about with Jermaine, and he came away, they want way too much. It's not happening. They're not realistic. And that's just the Jets saying we value these guys. Like, if you want us to give away someone we value, you got to show us, you got to make it worth our while. No team has been making it worth their while. With some of the other players that you mentioned, that's not necessarily the case. The Breece Hall conversation, it's more Do the Jets believe they have other running backs on the roster that can pick up the slack if Breece is gone? I don't necessarily know if that's the case, but a fourth-round pick might get it done. Quincy Williams and Michael Carter, those are the two that I'm with you. I've been led to believe those guys are much more available than the other guys that we were talking about. That's kind of all we have on the draft trade stuff, right? You have anything else you want to point out about trades or about trades?
I'll just say, like, I reported this the other day just about Quinnen. Like, I think there's a lot of noise around him, a lot of teams being interested in him. The Jets aren't trading him unless somebody bowls them over with multiple first-round picks, is what I would say. Like, and that's to start the conversation. So that's what I would say about Quinnen, because I know there's been a lot of talk about him.
I think a lot of the talk about Quinnen too is probably because there's a lot out there about Quinnen. Quinnen's not necessarily being super happy at the moment. Like, there's a lot out there about that, and it went from like people close to him to now I think it's a lot of people have heard it and it's just starting to circulate, and that's just going to amp up the calls. And the Jets have a decision to make. You either move Quinnen Williams or you make Quinnen Williams happy. You make him happy by converting a large portion of his unguaranteed base salary to guaranteed. Real quick, Zach, yes or no, you think the Jets make any notable moves? I would say Quincy and all those guys would count as notable.
Yeah, I guess if you count those as notable, I mean, based on how Muji's operated, I wouldn't even be shocked if there was a young player that he could get for cheap that he would add players to. Like, I don't think it's severely limited to them just trading away guys, is what I would say.
There we go. All right, we are going to be back next week with the bye week, Zach, but we're going to do some prediction time because we have no picks, which is good because we all went 0-3 picking the Bengals to win, which I don't think was an asinine pick, but you, me, and Brooke all went 0-3.
Yeah.
Let's do some predictions. We've got these were Brian came up with these, which I like. What will happen, what may happen, and our long shot prediction. I'll start with you, and then I will go. For you, what will happen for the Jets in the coming weeks and throughout the rest of the year?
So my first one we just went over, so I don't need to elaborate too much. But I said what will happen: Michael Carter II and Quincy Williams get traded. Like, I'm gonna call my shot on that one and just say those happen.
I believe it. I'm with you on that. My what will happen? We're going to see Brady Cook. Somebody's going to clip me from the mailbag show saying, "God damn it, guys, can we please not talk about this?" But it's true. At some point this year, we're going to see Brady Cook because I genuinely believe within the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to have Justin Fields get benched. They're going to go to Tyrod Taylor. Something weird always happens with Tyrod Taylor. He's going to get hurt, and then it's going to be, what do we need to do? The Jets are clearly going to take a quarterback. You need to see what you have in-house. They're going to try to evaluate Brady Cook. So I think you'll absolutely see that. All right, Zach, what may happen for the Jets? May happen.
So I said the Jets may still finish 3-14 this season is what I said. You look at the schedule. The Browns would be one you point to as, okay, they can win that one, but they have a great defense. The Dolphins, but the Jets lost to the Dolphins. And the Saints are the three where you like, okay, either the Jets will be for the home games favored or close to it with the Saints game on the road. Other than that, maybe the Falcons, but even them, that team has beat some good teams. So they don't have an easy stretch, and I still don't think they're good enough to beat a lot of these good teams.
I was very similar to you. I had the Jets as they may still finish the season 3-6. I don't think it's going to be great. I could easily those 3 wins too. I had them getting the Bills in Week 18 because I had the Bills resting their starters. I had the Dolphins and I had the Browns as the 3 possible wins for the Jets. And I genuinely believe that Brown game is a roll of the dice. I do not feel confident in the Jets beating the Browns because that defense of Cleveland is elite. And I think that there's still some funkiness on the Jets defense, their own, that I don't totally love, that I think that's going to be a really hard game. And I could easily see the Jets losing that one, which would have them 2-7 the rest of the season. But I know vibes are high. I still think that they could take a turn where it's not too good. All right, Jet, here's the big one, Zach. What is your long shot prediction for the year?
I decided to have fun with this one. I said we watched Brady Cook beat Zach Wilson in the Jets-Dolphins game in Week 14.
He got elevated back to number 2. Did you know that?
I know. That's why I predicted this. So that's why I'm saying whether it's Brady Cook starting or coming in relief, I think Brady Cook leads the Jets to a win against the Miami Dolphins and Zach Wilson, who at that point Tua Tagovailoa would have gotten hurt. So
the Dolphins right now are just having a weekly back and forth competition of who's going to be the backup quarterback. Yeah. It sounds like Quinn was last week. Now Zach is back. Now Quinn. It's that team is something, man. They are underrated because they randomly pull out really good regular seasons out of nowhere. That team is low-key super dysfunctional, like pretty consistently. They haven't won a playoff game in forever, isn't it? Something like that. Like it's been wild how bad that offense
it's so crazy. I forget what year it was, but it's one of the longest droughts. Yeah,
it's crazy. All right, my long shot prediction: positive Kano. We're going with this one. The Jets end the season 6-3. I see a path.
Wow. So you're saying they could either go 3-6 or 6-3? That's crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna make fun of me. I know. I saw that when I wrote it out. I was unfortunately I was gone all day yesterday and the day before, so I was kind of like family manning while I was filling out my answers for this one. But I do see a path where the Jets could get hot. And if Justin Fields plays like he did, the defense bounces back, the offense gets Garrett Wilson back, the running game suddenly starts working, the offensive line is good. I do see a path to them finishing the season with like going 6-3, and that would give them 7 wins on the season, which would be a wild turnaround. I mean, that would be a hell of a turnaround for them. So I do see the possibility there.
I like it.
Unlikely though. I will say I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, very unlikely. Yes.
Very, very unlikely. Real quick, Zach, do you guys live stream Flight Plan?
Flight Plan. Yeah, we do.
You live stream Flight Plan. Okay, so thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Jets Final Drive. That is going to do it for us. But if you want to do our co-host Zack Rosenblatt a huge favor, we are ending this right now, and Flight Plan is about to start for Zach. And he's
double pod.
Double pod. I'm actually impressed with you. Are you going to have any like herbal tea to keep the vocal cords going?
I'm going to need a nap afterwards. I'm going to need a nap afterwards. I know that.
I go downstairs and I'm like, dude, I can't talk anymore. But which Bree loves. She's like, you don't want to go another hour? Like, she loves it. But thank you guys, like I said, so much for listening to this episode of Jets Final Drive. Zach, now, if you want to keep watching more of him and Tim McMaster, part of the Badlands family where we love Joe and Connor and everybody will over there. Those guys are great. Badlands' Flight Plan will be starting momentarily where you guys will be able to listen to Zach. If you want more of me, I'm going to be back later this week with Janae Coakley dressed up as Olaf from Frozen because that's what we're going as a family for Halloween this week. And we're going to do a costume-themed Jets mailbag. You can find us later this week still on SNY's digital channels on Jets Mailbag with me and Janae Coakley. You can send your questions now. Tweet at SNY.TV. Tweet at me at Connor_J_Hughes or at Coakley. There you can tweet all of us. We'll get your questions, and we'll be tackling that on a Jets Mailbag later this week with Victory Jets Mailbag. We will be back with more of this show. I'm trying to think. I'm all over the place. I wanted to
trade deadline. We're going to do trade deadline show.
We are. Next week, we're going to do a trade deadline show. That's right. I'm really pumped about it. I've been pushing Jeff and Matt and everybody to allow us to do these digital shows even in the off season. I think this is a big moment where it's bye week. We're still going to do a show, and I would think it's going to be a hell of a show too. So next week, we will be back as well with another Jets Final Drive. Even though there is no game taking place, we're going to do a live Jets Final Drive talking about the trade deadline, what the Jets do, what the Jets don't do. That's it. That's all I've got, right? Did I miss anything, Zach? I got your Flight Plan. I got Jets Mailbag. I got Jets Final Drive next week. I think that's it, right?
Yep, and The Athletic, baby.
And The Athletic. Hell yeah, The Athletic. Shout out The Athletic. Subscribe on one of their many, many deals that they do. I love The Athletic. Really had a good time there the 5 years that I was there, and Zach is having a ton of fun there now. All right. He's Zack Rosenblatt. I am Connor Hughes. This has been Jets Final Drive. Huge thank you to our production team because this show is not possible without them. That is Brian Pincus, who was on the ones and twos for this show, Sam Candell, Corey Palmer, and we are Jeff Goldman. We got to find out who the next Penn State coach is going to be. We're going to have Jeff come in to talk about that, and maybe Drew Allard being the Jets pick in the first round. Just kidding. That's not happening. For Zach, I'm Connor. Jets Final Drive. Been a blast. We'll see you guys next week to talk about what the Jets do and don't do with the trade deadline.